Few pop stars have recently had such an outsized impact on pop culture outside the music world as Charli XCX. While Lady Gaga has become a full-fledged actress and Ariana Grande was just nominated for Best Supporting Actress, Charli has totally revamped how the zeitgeist felt in 2024 with her album Brat, whose tendrils reached as far as an entire meme subculture and the US presidential election. This rampant embrace of her pop ethos leaked into the world of cinema and cinephiles, as she's since executive produced and appeared in the Prime Video show Overcompensating, will star in upcoming films by Greg Araki and Takashi Miike, and people freaked out when her private Letterboxd profile got leaked. If you look at her top 4, you'll see that one of them is The Addiction, a 1995 hipster classic by Abel Ferrara that's the coolest portrayal of living as a vampire since The Lost Boys. Kathleen is a New York graduate student who specializes in philosophical diatribes on the meaning of life and how one can cope with living life as a sinner. She spends her days drifting between fraternizing with her friend, Jean, and attending her philosophy classes with her teacher. One evening, she's cornered in an alley by a vampire named Casanova, who antagonizes her into resisting her power, only for Kathleen to cave and get turned into a vampire. Now that she's a vampire, Kathleen reorients her life around going for her philosophy doctorate, word-vomiting her existential crisis onto whoever will listen, and challenging strangers to resist her vampiric power. She eventually falls under the wing of a fellow vampire named Pena, who tries to help her conquer her addiction to blood by giving her shelter, his own helping of frantic monologues, and a crash course in William Burroughs literature. At a threadbare 82 minutes long and actively indignant at the prospect of plot, The Addiction recalls the similarly hazy street philosophy musings of films like Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai, turning style into its substance in its central allegory of vampirism as drug addiction. Vampires usually overpower people with some kind of hypnotic power or the temptation of their darkest desires being fulfilled. But Ferrara's version of vampirism thrives on intimidation and naked hunger. Vampires don't lure their victims in with promises, but threaten them by insisting that they're too cowardly to resist in a manner that's purely evolutionary dog-eat-dog. When Kathleen's victims act mortified by her behavior, she violently shrugs off any shame or doubt, insisting that it's other people's shock at her lifestyle that is truly mortifying. At her lowest points, Kathleen embraces the notion that all humans are inherently evil sinners, and therefore, it makes no difference to how she behaves or who she turns to. They are doomed anyway. Abel Ferrara is a filmmaker long obsessed with questions of eroding morality in an unjust world, struggling with the deep pull that drugs can hold on your psyche, and characters who feel emboldened to be mavericks and do whatever they want. Consequences be damned, Ferrara himself is somebody who battled severe drug use and is clearly on the side that they're destructive and shouldn't be abused. While that stance is reflected in The Addiction, it can't be denied that it also understands how exhilarating it can feel to be on a high and feel liberated from society's norms and expectations. It's ultimately a story of salvation from the dark nights of your soul, but still having some ample fun before the sun comes up. While Charli XCX has never publicly broken down her top 4 and why those are her favorite films, it's not hard to see why The Addiction is among them. All throughout her career, her music has been about partying hard, while still having to deal with the underlying traumas, existential fears, and judging gazes of all those around you. Brat personified all those anxieties and fears with banger anthems like Apple and Girl So Confusing, which might be way more up-tempo than any music that's heard playing in The Addiction, but is no less in sync with the film's underlying spirit. It's easy to imagine that Charli XCX finds a kindred spirit in Kathleen, someone who is defiantly herself and imposes her will upon those who don't understand her, and looks super cool wearing sunglasses, no matter where she's going. That is indeed very Brat.